Sounds good.
Teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the #1 show on innovative teamwork. Again, I got to shout out Podmatch again for taking so much of the logistical work out of finding guests. They have been providing some incredible people on the show. As you regular listeners know, I bring you nothing but the best, nothing but gems. And today we have a trailblazer. All right, you heard me right, a trailblazer in regards to how you show up on camera, how you use video to really leverage your business, and how you don't use it as a procrastination method and use all the things that we have as a method of procrastination, but how you use it for the things that you need. So with all that, Ms. Sheryl Plouffe, welcome to the Move Swiftly podcast. How are you?
I am great, Aswand. Great to see you today. I am excited to talk about innovative teamwork because that is exactly the stage that we are at in our ICONMAKER company right now, where we're building our team and really leaning into innovation. So excited for the conversation today.
Yeah, so let's just get started with where you started, because I was listening to you previously. You are accustomed to being in front of a camera. You know, you started out as a host, you did some stuff with the weather, you did a lot of stuff on camera, and you've seen a lot in this business. You were able to kind of translate that into a world now where everyone has access to a camera, everyone's in front of a camera. So kind of dive a little bit into your background and, I guess how you got from there to now starting a company that, first of all, I just love the name ICONMAKER. All right. How you're able to create all the stuff you're doing now. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Well, I started hosting a TV show when I was 18 years old. I was volunteering at a cable TV station, and one day there was no host for the new news magazine program.
That's how it works. Just
And
no host.
that's how it works. I'm pulling cable in the studio. I'm 18 years old. Somebody taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, you, can you do this?" I said, "Well, I've never done it before." So lo and behold, there I am hosting this show. And I did that for 2 years, absolutely fell in love with it. And I was also heavily involved in, pageantry and modeling and things of that nature at the time. So they all kind of meshed together and led me to a place and to, frankly, a love for wanting to communicate and to share messages and to tell stories. And so I ended up doing that before the age of 30. I ended up on national television here in Canada, worked at the Weather Network, Pelmarx Media for 17 years. I also managed a news department at one point for 3 years. So I've had a variety of different experiences in media over the course of my 25-year career.
Right.
In 2017, though, I decided to branch out on my own and start my own company, which originally began with video marketing and then quickly progressed into something bigger than that. It was really about how do we help entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants to step into their own spotlight and to become an icon at what it is that they do, and helping them build their offers and helping them build their businesses with podcasting, high ticket offers, and strategic conversion events as well.
Right. So the number one question that actually I think not only myself but several listeners probably have listening in is you were on national TV. You were doing well. You were doing very well and doing your thing. What made you leave to want to help people like entrepreneurs create high ticket offers and stuff like that? I mean, it's very selfless, but when you think about it, it's like, how can someone that may be on the outside looking in, it looks like such a great career, looks like something that she's great at doing. Why would you, decide to leave in 2017? What was that battle like? What were those?
Yeah.
Like?
There were a few pivotal moments dating back to 2013, somewhere in there. I remember one specific pivotal moment for me was sitting in an all-team meeting, and we had over 400 employees in this company, and sitting there in the television division to be told by the leaders of the company that they weren't really investing in television, that they were going to be investing in digital, that they were going to be investing in social. And alarm bells went off inside of me a little bit. And I think that was one of the pivotal moments. There were several, but it led me to, how you have that feeling in your heart and in your soul that you're like, there's something else I need to do. And sometimes you don't know what that is, but you follow course and you listen to your gut and you listen to your instincts and you start taking steps. And so really for me, I was wanted to about 4 years for me to to feel confident enough to leave that awesome profession and that great job. I mean, it's a coveted job. Many people want to have those types of positions.
Exactly.
But I knew in my heart that it was the next level. So it really took me 4 years to to take that leap and to start my own company.
Yeah, and I actually did a full episode on just when you look at what's happening with TV, I did a full episode on how when ESPN decided to do layoffs and all that stuff, and everything's going digital, everything's going to a streaming service. So if you do not change with the times will change you. You regular listeners have heard me say that on multiple occasions. And when you get these moments, if you're in a situation where you get these moments where your superiors, your higher ups, or whoever it is you look at as a boss comes in and say, hey, we're not really investing in something that you may need, the alarm bells need to go off in your head as well. This is why I bring people on, so they kind of indirectly tell you, look, you got to be preparing for the future. You got to be preparing for what's next, right? So when you decide to do that, it's 2017, you decide to, help entrepreneurs and stuff like that. What were some of the initial challenges? Because I know there's a lot when it comes to, hey, I'm going to start something brand new. It's a completely new world, so to speak, and developing clients and developing trust and all that stuff. So how was that process when you decided that you were going to move over to the entrepreneur side?
I wish I knew then what I know now.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Oh
A
man, I
lot
wish
of
I knew then what I know now.
yes, because this was what
Oh, listen,
2017 before, like 3 years before COVID. So man, yeah,
3 years before COVID.
Right.
You know what? Listen, when I am speaking and I'm on, your show, and by the way, I just love the theme of your show. I think it's
Yeah,
so smart.
appreciate that.
I want to be honest. I just want to be open and vulnerable. The truth is that for the first 3 years, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah,
Let's be real. Like I just did
straight up.
it. Anyone who knows me knows that I was throwing some spaghetti at walls
Yeah.
and I was watching for what stuck. I was doing that. And I think that's a common experience when you get into entrepreneurship and maybe don't have the strategies, or you don't know kind of the next level of where it's all going. I think also I give myself a break, and I do give myself some grace around the fact that things are evolving so quickly at that time period, and especially leading into COVID, things just went wild. So I give myself permission for that. That is the reality of what it was. I was trying all kinds of different things, right? I had program, I was doing really well. I mean, I reached six figures in my first year as an entrepreneur, which outdid, what I was doing before. And so like, I was happy from that perspective.
Right.
But what I wasn't clear on was, who do I really want to be? And where do I really want to take this? Is it video marketing? Do I want to specialize in YouTube? I was good at a lot of things. I'm really good with tech. I'm really good. I could create funnels. I can create courses. Like I can create signature programs. I'm good with messaging. Like I'm good at a lot of things. But being good at a lot of things also presents its own challenges because you're good at a lot of things.
Yeah, and I have to
know
I
where
have to
to
pause you there,
focus.
because you made a great point there, and I want to make sure the listeners catch that. She said she still made six figures, but that did not equate to some level of happiness. All right. I want to make sure I pause you guys there, because as you're going and developing your organizations, eventually you have to ask yourself the question, who do I want to serve? Who exactly is the person that my product is for, especially if we're going to be talking high ticket? Who is my product for? How am I going to help them? And how am I going to change their outlook on life? And why exactly is it they're going to want it from me specifically? That takes deep reflection. It's not about just saying, hey, I made six figures doing this, and all of a sudden I could just kind of throw my hands up and say I'm a success. Great, you made the money. But the point is, you got to be serving the people the right way. One of my favorite books, actually, Sheryl, is Magic Johnson's 32 Way to Be a Champion in Business. And he was talking about how he left the court one day and he went to one of the I think it was like one of the billionaire owners. And he's like, yeah, man, I want to make a lot of money like you one day. And then the owner just stopped and said, nope, can't be about the money. Cannot be about the money. It has to be about who exactly you want to serve and how it is you want to help people. And we all know what Magic Johnson has become. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure we pause you there to make sure that point was made for you listeners. So go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's so true.
Yeah.
Happiness is not necessarily just the money, it's the impact that you're making on other people. And that's always been important for me ever since I was a teenager. It's always been important to me to want to have impact along with success.
Right.
And so it took me several years of doing a variety of things and trying different things. And when COVID happened, what happened was it was very apparent that social audio was taking off because and we can just look to Clubhouse as an example.
Oh yeah,
Clubhouse
yeah. He used to be
took
on.
off
Right.
because it turned out that, we needed a lifeline personally
Yes, it
and
was.
professionally.
Yeah, it
We were
was.
all in our homes going like, how I'm a human being. I need to connect with others.
Yeah.
Zoom took off. It's
Yeah.
actually one of the reasons why I think my highest rated video on YouTube has, I think, 1.1 million views now. It's
I
about
saw
Zoom.
that. Is
Like,
this
it
the one? Yep,
happened at
I
a
saw that.
time Zoom was coming up, Clubhouse was coming up, social
Right.
audio was taking off, podcasting. And then I decided, I had already tried podcasting several times on my own with I think the traditional approach
Mhm.
of, I'll build my audience and then I'll get sponsors and then I'll get advertisers,
Right.
only to realize, wow, it's a lot of work when you're a solopreneur trying to produce the show and trying to gain your audience with that intent. Like, it can happen to a few people, but
Mhm.
likely not to happen in the time frame that you've allotted. It takes years to build up enough of an audience to monetize through advertisers and sponsors.
Mhm.
So what I did, as this was all coming to a head, was, I'm going to do another podcast, but this time I'm going to apply what I've learned, which is that fundamentally business is built on high trust relationships.
Amen
That's
to
what it is. That
that.
will never go out of style. That will always be fundamental. Business is about relationships. So I thought, well, what if I start my podcast with that in mind? And
Mhm.
that's when everything took off.
Right.
And that's really, so the story of how this all evolved
Yeah.
to a place now where I've met my two business partners,
Mhm.
right? Well, one of my business partners I've known for years, but my other business partner I met as a result of relationship building and networking and getting out and talking to people. And the three of us started a company last year, which is, I think we have 79 clients, high ticket clients, as of the recording of
Right.
this show. I mean, it's taken off, and I think 3.5 million of book sales that they've done in
Mhm.
our program, and we're not even a year old yet.
Well,
So it all comes together. It all comes together. But the truth is, for the first few years, I was floundering and didn't really know exactly where I wanted to put my focus.
yeah, and that's all part of the process. And I want to make sure we talk about this as well. Because you mentioned your high ticket clients. If there's a potential high ticket client that's listening in now, what exactly are you guys able to do for them? Or what exactly, like when it comes to prospecting, when it comes to specifically who you filter out, kind of describe who your ideal high ticket client is for the listeners.
Typically, our ideal person is somebody who has been struggling
Mhm.
and doing, quote unquote, all the things that they've been told by the gurus to do, which
Mhm.
tend to be tactics. So they've been doing the challenges and the social media, and they're on that hamster wheel, and they're posting inspirational quotes on Facebook, and they're sticking with the live streams, and they're doing this, and then they get targeted
You
with
heard something. She's
Facebook
preaching
ads,
now. She says, "We going to
right?
church now. We going to church, Cheryl."
They got retargeted with an ad because they followed a thing, and then obviously, and so
Yeah.
now it's not to say that those aren't, necessarily going to work, for some people. It certainly can work
Right.
for some people, but for most entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
most coaches who are unclear of who their right fit client is right from the get-go, unclear on their messaging, they're just chasing. They're chasing. And they're
Mhm.
just, and they're just going for the next thing and the next shiny object. And next thing you know, they're head down, trying to build complex funnels and trying to go on YouTube and learn 18 million different things about this and taking this course. And
Mhm.
they don't lift their heads up
Mhm.
and have conversations with people.
Yes.
They're not talking to enough people. They're
Yeah.
head down in all the tech and chasing.
Yeah.
The fundamentals are being overlooked. The
Mhm.
fundamentals are, talk to someone.
Yeah.
Spend 15 minutes doing a connection call. It's not a sales call. It's not a
Mhm.
prospecting call. It's just a, hey, let's get to know each other better.
Right.
What are you working on? I'd like to get to know you. It's
Mhm.
building your network, which is, I think, the fundamental place where you ought to begin before even worrying about like the list building and all that. Just talk to people, build your network, get to know some people. And
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things that we see that is lacking. So in answer to your question, who are they? Coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, people who are packaging their expertise and knowledge to sell as products or services, right?
Mhm.
I think that's predominantly who those people are.
Yeah, I actually I have a coach as well. I personally get coached by my guy Dre Baldwin, and he calls it tactical hell. And it's a lot of the
I love
I
that.
love the phrase
Tactical.
tactical hell because there's a system that needs to be in place. before you start going off on all these tactical ways of doing things. And it's a lot like you, like I said, I was listening to you on a previous video. That tactical help becomes procrastination. When you're not seeing results, when you're not seeing actual receipts being drawn up, I'm not talking about likes, I'm not talking about the vanity metrics, I'm not talking about the followers you're getting on social media. Those people aren't paying you. They're called freeloaders. I'm talking about actual receipts. When you're not seeing those, you have to change up your system entirely so you're getting to your target, you're getting to your right person, whether it's video, whether it's audio, whether it's an article, whatever it is, you got to get to that target audience. Again, another thing I say all the time on the show is the audience is always going to decide. So you got to know who your audience and you got to know what you're about. And I love the point that you're making about talking to people, because nowadays it's a lot more challenging than it was probably when you were coming up with these things that we have right here, and the texting and all that. So when it comes to that and teaching people how to just have conversation, do you have any tact, or do you have any ways of teaching that? I know you have some workshops out and stuff like that. So feel free to kind of plug away when it comes to that. I'll put that
Well,
stuff
I
out.
mean, one of the ways I've always had my own method of having conversations with people, but my partner Tom Matson has a great strategy, and it's really predicated on this idea of getting on a call just to talk, right? Just to connect with someone and having the conversation be about the past, the present, and the future. It's like, what are you most proud of in the past? What are you working on today? And what are you excited about in the future? And we talk about this at the workshop, and we talk about this at our event, but it's a great framework, and it's an easy framework for people to remember.
Yeah.
So that any conversation that you're having, and here's where I think it gets interesting, you can even apply that to podcasting.
Yeah.
You're a podcaster, so am I, right? Like that framework can be utilized even as someone who doesn't know how to interview someone else. And I come from obviously a long history of interviewing.
Yeah.
But you can use that framework and just build upon it, right? So instead of having a standard list of here are the questions I'm going to ask, which obviously you're not doing that, right? You're having a conversation. You're listening to what I'm saying and you're reacting to it, and you're asking more clarifying questions and going deeper. And that's how you conduct a great interview.
Yes.
So you can use that framework so long as you're also open to the idea of being an active listener and digging deep when the opportunity arises, just as you are.
Yes, it's. I think you used a very. Actually, I did do Toastmasters for a little bit right before COVID, and that was the key: is you have to be actively listening when you go and you give feedback to whoever was giving a speech. And I actually recently just did a video about JJ Redick and how he got the job with the Lakers, but the podcasting is a new way to do job interviews. And I do think you do have a framework or something that you put out there in which you talk about how to use podcasting as a way of leveraging your business and stuff like that. So you feel free to talk about that a little bit as well.
I just lost the last 10 seconds of what you said. Can you repeat the last part?
Oh, no, I was just talking about how I believe in, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you do have a framework or a strategy in which you teach podcasting as a way of leveraging your business and stuff like that. Because nowadays, again, you can get on calls, you can just go cold call people, but it's so many more ways to communicate with people now, to where maybe filtering them out in your podcasting world will make it so they're your prospects, stuff like that. So, feel free to go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
Here's what's interesting is that when we are teaching people to leverage podcasting to sell their high ticket offer and to build their business to 7 figures, et cetera, we actually don't start with the podcast. I think sometimes people are surprised to hear that. They go, well, when are we doing the podcast?
Right.
It's like the podcast is stage 3.
Very true.
I want to make sure, again, if the intent of the podcast is for business, and that's why you're doing it, is to leverage it to not only create great content and have great conversations, and that's awesome. People will listen, and there will be people who benefit from the conversations. But if your underlying strategy is to build high trust relationships, to further your cause, to be able to meet new people, to get on more stages, to find prospects, etc., the podcasting is not where you start. You start with, what is your offer? And part of that exploration is not only is what is the offer, it's who is the right fit client? What are the outcomes that they want? What transformation are they looking for, right? There's a whole process of things that need to happen
Mhm.
And speaking of innovation, which is the theme of your show, we're
Mhm.
using GPTs, we're using Chat GPT, and I've created custom GPTs now to help support us and our team to develop and to refine what those things are in order to create the high ticket offer.
Yes. Yes.
And then from there, we say, okay, great. Now we validate the offer. We
Mhm.
don't create all the curriculum and all the videos and all the course materials
Yeah.
and the templates. And that take, because that can take some time. And
Yes.
that's where a lot of people get stuck. They
That's the
create their what they think is the program people want without actually proving that people want it by buying it.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
That's
validate it. And
mhm.
then based on that data, you either go forward or you go back to the drawing board.
Mhm.
And then when you move forward, you after you validated, you actually fill your founder circle. And from that point, podcast rather, you do the workshop, then you do the podcast. So
Mhm.
the podcast doesn't come into play until some time later.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people are confused by that. They think, well, when are we getting to when are we getting to the romantic, the glamour part is
Right.
how I think of it.
That's what they want to write.
And it's not really that way.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I make the point clear, as succinct as possible, and clearly say this. It's going to cost you getting out of your comfort zone, folks. You have to get out of your
100%.
comfort zone. You're gonna have to go talk to people. You're gonna have to actually go and speak in front of a crowd and get told no and all that, so you know exactly who you're going to target. Then you build up the glamorous part of everything that you're about. So, with all that, I do want to be very respectful of your time and things of that nature. Can you just kind of talk to people about what's next, how they can get in touch with you? And I believe you have some workshops that people can go to now. So feel free to put all that stuff out there now.
The easiest way to learn about what we do is to go to iconmakerlive.com. And at iconmakerlive.com, we host regular workshops, and they are true workshops. They're not webinars. They're 4 hours long, but we go deep and we share all the cutting edge strategies, all of the things you're not hearing from other people.
Wow.
We share, and you can actually see all the recommendations of our workshop on my LinkedIn page if you ever wanted to go and see what people
So
think of it.
is this a situation where you're physically going somewhere, or is it
No, it is virtual. It is online. It
okay.
is online.
Mhm.
But I like to let people know that it's not it's not a 45-minute thing, right?
Right.
We don't hold anything back. So in order for us to really live in our truth, which is not
Mhm.
to hold anything back, it takes us about 3.5 hours to teach
Yeah.
all of these cutting edge strategies.
Right.
But what's great about it is what we do is anything that we bring in from the workshop, because there's a $27 fee to come,
Hmm.
is actually donated to charity. It's actually a
Okay.
philanthropic cause. So that money goes to a good cause. So we get to do good while we're also teaching.
That's what it's
And
about. Right.
people come to the workshop and they love it. They absolutely love it. So Tom and Danella and I and Raza, our senior, someone on our senior team, we all together help. We can answer questions at the end, and we don't hold anything back. We just
Mhm.
share the entire 8-step methodology on how to become an icon in your niche and how to truly build the business of your dreams.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, that gives me some ideas now, because you've been able. It used to be where when you talk in workshops, you got to go show up at a hotel somewhere and then do the 4 hour. But now you're able to virtually create that so people can go online, do what they have to do, and then on top of that, it's going to a solid cause. So it's very philanthropic in its nature and stuff like that. So that's a great cause. Now you're making me think. Oh man, I got to jump on one for sure. Uh,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We really enjoy it. I mean, I like the question and answer part, especially because people can come and ask questions specific to their business or to specific to the idea of like what's in their mind. Like, well, how would that apply to me? And
Yeah.
how does that work in my scenario? And that's my favorite part of the webinar, or rather of the workshop.
Now, when it comes to speaking and stuff like that, if somebody wants to bring you in to speak, is it the same website that is get in touch with you? What's that process like?
Yeah, I think the best place, really two best places to reach out to me, LinkedIn and Facebook. You can send me a message and just connect
Mhm.
with me and say, hey, I heard you on the Move Swiftly podcast,
Mhm.
and connect with me. I love to speak. So does Danella, so does Tom. But like we love to share this message because it's so important to teach people that you can build a 7-figure business.
Mhm.
You can do it without a huge team. You don't need massive funnels and technology and all those things, as long as you have the fundamentals. It's more about the strategy.
Yeah.
You have to have the right strategy to get to 7 figures. What gets you to 6 doesn't get you to 7, but you can build it efficiently and effectively and get to that 7-figure mark much, much faster than you think. And that's really one of the things that we share. So that we share on the workshop.
Yeah, and you said the right word, which is strategy, which again, the strategy cannot just exist in your own head. You got to go out and get coached. You got to go figure it out. You got to go again, get out of that comfort zone. We're going to keep going back to that because it's so, so very important. So with all that, Sheryl, the way I close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are, let's say, 17, going to be 18, you're pulling cables out, you don't know what's going on, you just did a pageant, you just have a whole lot of things you want to help people with. Pretend that young 17-year-old girl had just clicked into the Zoom room, give her some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
Talk to people. Talk to more people. I think lift your head up from the keyboard. And if you can challenge yourself to meet new people, connect with them, even if it's for 15 minutes, I think if you did that consistently, your business would transform.
Wow, that's incredible. Just talk to more people. And then again, for you 17-year-old girls that are listening, that are sucked into this social media world, that have your phones, you're looking at all your likes and your vanity metrics and all that, we're here for you so you can, again, pick your head up, just meet someone, shake somebody's hand, and do what it is you have to do to get to improve your business, because we live in an incredible time. We have an incredible opportunity where someone that's living in West Palm Beach can have a conversation with someone that's in Canada, and it'd be like we're right next to each other. So take advantage of that, all right? All that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.